What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. And I want to talk to you guys about something that just came across my plate, came across my vision, was told to me by a trusted industry source. I've talked to them over the years about a lot of different things, about a lot of different games across the board, and always been upfront, always in the know about a lot of different games and things that are going on, kind of behind the scenes. So I got this information, and it was about Zion Williamson and NBA Live. So apparently, and we're kind of letting people kind of gather into the room a little bit, but apparently, uh, EA talked to Zion Williamson about being their cover athlete for NBA Live 20. Uh, the apparent offer that was out there on the that was out there for this was $1 million straight up for Zion to be the cover athlete. Um, I don't know exactly whether or not, the source couldn't confirm whether or not there was like a negotiation, if there was an issue with that dollar amount or what have you. But that was supposedly the offer that was given to Zion. Now, this did not go through, and here's why. Now, let me let you know the fact that he was supposedly on the cover or offered the cover is not speculation. That is something that the source is confirming. But what is speculation is why it's not happening. The reason why, according to kind of just using some information that I have and just what I know about the industry, the reason why he may not be on the cover is because if aware, Zion's going through something right now with agent representation. He signed an agreement with Prime Sports, which is a Florida-based, and I just wrote about this on Forbes, so you could catch it there. But he signed an agreement with a Florida-based company called Prime Sports. Apparently, that particular company did not have the requisite verbiage in their contract that told him that he would be ineligible to return to play collegiate basketball by signing this agreement. And then there was another piece of it that was missing. Because it was missing that information, it made his agreement with them null and void. Zion Williamson is now suing that company to get basically released from his attachment with them, and he is now signed with CAA, which also works with Rock Nation and a couple other with a couple other entities under that umbrella. What I think could have happened is that this agreement or this negotiation that took place may have happened while he was still connected with Prime Sports, because reportedly he signed with Prime Sports like a day after he declared himself for the 2019 NBA draft. So anything that might have been negotiated at that time would pretty much kind of be out the window. And then at this point now, he kind of be starting over again with whatever deals. It's probably the reason why he hasn't had a shoe deal announced as of yet. At this point, he is the hottest commodity for a shoe deal. The kid is 18 years old. He don't even turn 19 into July. He's already got over 3 million Instagram followers. He's on the cover of Slam magazine. He is already one of the most popular basketball players in the world. So getting him is going to be a top priority for just about anybody who has a basketball related product. That's pretty much the way you have to look at it, right? So where we are now with Zion is that he's not really affiliated with any cover of a video game at this point. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize what this would have meant for Live if they were able to secure him as their cover athlete. We know Live has struggled from a sales standpoint to keep up with 2K for well over a decade. And while having Zion on the cover doesn't really do anything for the game itself, it still has to be made, and the quality doesn't necessarily affect that. But what it would have done is it would have put more eyes on live than we've seen. Probably, I can't, in at least 10 years, it would have put more eyes on this than we've seen. Like, I mean, it would have been amazing the amount of people um that would be paying attention, right, to live that may not have been paying attention before. But that's not going to happen. The other thing that would have done is it would have blocked 2K from using Zion in any advertisements. It would have blocked them from using him as a motion capture talent. Anything that 2K could have used in an ad to say Zion Williamson 2K or whatever, because anything he appears on in that way is going to be somewhat of an endorsement. And if Live had him for their cover, it would have stopped that. If you think about it, think back over the years. Last year, did you see Joel Embiid in anything 2K related? I mean, you may have seen him when they revealed his rating or something to that effect, but you didn't see Joel Embiid himself, and you really didn't even see 2K putting out a lot of uh, gameplay, even featuring Joel Embiid. Same thing with Harden over the past few years. You just didn't see that because they obviously wouldn't want to do that, and it's just a lot of different components to go to get involved with that. So that's a big deal, you know. So I know a lot of people think, oh, cover athletes don't matter. Who cares, right? A lot of people may think that, but cover athletes do matter because many of the people who buy these games are not hardcore fans. Like, think about it. 2K sold 10 million copies last year, a little over 10 million copies. Do you think all 10 million of those people are hardcore 2K, hardcore sports gamers? No. You got a lot of casual people in there. And in that casual group, in that demographic, are the type of people who are swayed and would be swayed by something as simple and as seemingly unimportant as who the cover athlete is. Like, I've literally heard people say, so and so is going to be the cover athlete this year. I know the game's going to be good. Literally, I've heard people say that. Obviously, we know has nothing to do with anything, but there are, if you hear one person say that, you better believe there's 10 more, 20 more, 100 more who think that way, right? So that's why these companies spend, and that's why they go through the links that they go through to get certain people as their cover athlete. And I honestly, I believe that maybe aside from LeBron James, Steph, maybe KD, especially even with the injury, right? I think there isn't another basketball player on the planet who would have been more impacting as a cover athlete than Zion Williamson when you consider what the purpose of a cover athlete is supposed to be. But live, as of right now, isn't going to get that. Now, obviously, none of the cover athletes have been announced for either game, for live or 2K. I think we all know that the 2K Legends Edition cover athlete is going to be Dwayne Wade. That leaked, I think a week or so ago. I wrote about that when the image started to leak, as somebody from GameStop got caught slipping, or maybe not slipping, just decided to put it out there, put the standee out there to show the release date, and that Wade was going to be the cover athlete for the Legends Edition. 2K has not said who their standard cover athlete would be, which that's probably where Zion would have fit if they were going to pick him. Live hasn't said anything at all. And what was really interesting is the fact that Live had no presence at all at EA Play, which is, yeah, that's kind of tough because it was the only sports game, I think, in their lineup that didn't have any presence at all at EA. And it's really funny, the cover issues that EA is experiencing this year, because some of you may not realize, may not know that there's huge speculation out there that I think it's pretty much not even speculation anymore. I think this is pretty confirmed that Neymar Jr. was supposed to be the cover athlete for FIFA 20. But you may or may not know, if you don't follow soccer, that Neymar actually has a rape case right now. He was accused of rape by a young lady, a young Brazilian lady. And crazy enough, EA was using Cristiano Ronaldo as its cover athlete before that, like for last year's game, and he also has a rape case. So something like this happened to EA back in 2015 for NHL. The Chicago Blackhawks, my Blackhawks, well, I won't say my Blackhawks. I think that's kind of crazy. The only hockey team that I ever root for or care about is the Blackhawks, and I won't even try to act like I'm a hardcore fan. People do that all the time. I'm not a hardcore fan. I root for them when I catch it, right? But for the Blackhawks, they had just won the Stanley Cup, and Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews were chosen to be the cover athletes together. Well, Patrick Kane was accused of rape, and EA scrambled and removed him from the cover and just left Jonathan Toews on. Now, Kane was cleared of the rape charge, and there was basically, it was called a baseless accusation, but he never was added back onto the cover. And I'm assuming he probably lost whatever money he was going to gain from that. So this whole cover thing, and for whatever weird, odd, ominous reason, this cover thing and rape accusations is something that EA has had to deal with a lot. Now, thankfully, that's not anything that they're dealing with this Zion Williamson and the live thing. But this is just another situation where the cover athlete that they've chosen, it's not going to work out for whatever reason. And this would have been a killer, right? It would have been a killer for them from a monetary standpoint. I would go as far. So live sales numbers have been horrendous, right? Horrendous. Like, I want to say last year, and I'd have to pull it up just to confirm. And as a matter of fact, I'm live right now, but I will go ahead and pull this up just so I can be somewhat on par. I mean, on track with what I'm about to say. The sales numbers have been really, really bad for live, right? So let's see here. According to, they actually are not even charting it for whatever reason. Usually VG Charts has the information for NBA Live, for all of the different sales numbers, but they don't have it they don't have it for Live 19. So I'm kind of trying to see if it comes out any place else. But if you look at it, if you look at the price drops and stuff like that for Live when they went down, there's one publication that has NBA Live sales so drastically beneath 2K that it isn't even funny, right? And then you look at Twitch viewership. I hesitate. I don't want to say any of these numbers because I got to make sure that I trust this source before I say it. But I think everybody knows that it hasn't looked good, right? I would go as far as to say that if EA had been able to get Zion Williamson as its cover athlete, if Live was selling 150,000, 100,000 copies, I think he would have been good enough to take them up to 300,000 by just on the strength that he was the cover athlete. Just on that, I think there are 200,000 people that would G for it because he's on the cover. You got to think about it now. Don't think from the standpoint of a 32, 34-year-old, 28, 29-year-old basketball fan and has been playing sports video games for years, and you know how these series go. And don't think from that standpoint. Think from the standpoint of a 14-year-old, 13-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old who either has an allowance, has ability to get a game, or can go to parents and say, I want this game, I want that game. Think from that standpoint and how much they might love Zion Williamson and how much that might be enough for them to be persuaded to buy this game. So I don't think you can overstate what the impact would have been if they gotten him. Now, if I'm 2K, I am doing what I can to bring him in some way, shape, or form. I don't know, they haven't announced who the cover athlete is for the standard edition. And usually I know that decision is made around February. I remember I interviewed Paul George back in 2016 before he was on the cover for 17. And when I interviewed him, I asked him, I said, how long did you know? How long did it take for you? You know, how long did you have to hold this secret? And he said, man, I had to hold it since February. And we were having this conversation in July. It was in LA at the Road to the NBA Finals, the esports event that ultimately ended up helping launch the 2K League. So he was there and he said, I had to hold it, you know, since February. I couldn't tell anybody. And so I'm assuming that that's around about the time that they make this decision. So that's long gone. So whoever's the standard cover athlete for 2K20 already knows who they are. So I don't know if there's anything that Zion can do or that 2K can do to incorporate Zion in any way at all for a cover. But I'm jumping all over this kid if I'm 2K and having him on whatever I can have him on. Anything I can do to affiliate him with this brand, I am doing it. I don't care if I got to create some special 2K shoes in the game for him, whatever. Or if and when I face scan him, his face scan is being shot across every one of my social channels if I'm 2K. Because this is exactly what I would have done if I'm EA and I get him for live. So now 2K, if live tried to get him and couldn't, if 2K gets him in any way, shape, or form, they got to accentuate that. They got to drive that home in a major way. So we'll see what happens. But I think this is some really interesting developments for this whole entire thing. I really do. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it necessarily for from EA standpoint. It's kind of like a punt. Like everybody knows I play 2K more, right, than I play live. You know, I play live when it first comes out so that I can give a fair evaluation of the game. And then after that, I play the game that I like the most. And for most of these years, over the past 10, 11 years, that's been 2K. But I know people who work for EA and I know people who work on live. And many of those people are really cool, really good people, you know. And so there's a part of me that kind of wants to see them do something good. But it just seems like every single time they take a step forward or almost take a step forward, they trip and they fall and something doesn't work out. You know, it is yeah. It just I don't know what it is. I'm of the opinion, and this is just a cover thing, so you can't overreact too much. I want to talk about how big of a deal it is, but it's not an in the series kind of a situation. But I do think, and I've said this before, I do think that it would be a good idea for 2K, I mean for Live, to strongly consider taking some time off and just reinventing this game literally just almost from top to bottom. Now, I'm not saying scrap every idea that you have. I think that many of the things that they have work well. I think that, you know, the way the one thing works. And I think that, you know, a lot of that stuff makes a lot of sense. But I think they have the best halftime show currently in any sports video game. The live drops, I think, is a really smart thing because people really G for that in-game clothing concept. I really, you know, so I like the concept that they have of on-ball defense against, you know, the little mini game between the dribbler and the guy and the defender. I think they do that well, even though it's a little bit too easy to get past people. But I think conceptually they got the right idea. So there's some good stuff there. There's some very sweet layup animations in the game but sometimes it gets canceled out by some other kind of horrible animation that makes you like, what's going on here? Some of the faces that they have for some of the players, they've absolutely nailed. Some of them not so much. Um, so I don't think they need to scrap everything, but I do think that it would benefit the overall brand if they were to go away for a year or two and rebuild this sucker from the ground up, have some serious conversations about what's good and what's not about their game, and saying, okay, what does 2K do good and what do they struggle at? How can we fill every gap that they feel that they have, and how can we come at them in a way that is going to endear the virtual basketball community to our product, and kind of make us like the backup quarterback on a struggling team kind of a thing. Like, how can they do that? So I don't know. I think that's what they really need to do. It probably won't do it because a lot of these a lot of these contracts, this is one thing people don't realize. A lot of these contracts that the gaming companies have with major sports leagues like the NBA, NFL, it actually mandates that they release a game every year. It mandates that they do. So even if they wanted to take a year off, it may be a part of the contractual agreement that they can't. So I don't know if that's the case or not. But yeah, doesn't look like Zion's going to be on the cover of Live 20, and would have been a really big deal if he had been. So I appreciate all of y'all stepping through and watching, but guess what's about to happen at actually, what is it? Actually, right now, we're about to go live for At Me Bro. So I want you guys to flip over to At Me Bro right about now. It's that time. We'll be setting it up shortly. And y'all just make sure that you check that out. We're going to be doing a watch party for game 6 of the NBA Finals. I appreciate y'all watching. I hope y'all ain't tired of me because we're about to flip over for this watch party. God bless and peace.